So welcome once again to the ClearAdmit MBA Essay Insight webinar series. I'm Graham Richmond. I'm going to host this session today. I'm the co-founder of ClearAdmit, and ClearAdmit is an applicant community. Those of you who use our website regularly know it's a great resource for people applying to business school with lots of free information about the top business schools in the world. Let me introduce each of our panelists just really briefly here so that we can kick things off. We have a great group of schools once again this week. So let's start with Nicole Newham. She is the Associate Director of Admissions at Columbia Business School. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here.
That's great to have you. We're also going to hear today from Mēgan Friedman. She's the Director for MBA Operations and Admissions at Georgia Tech Scheller College of Business. Hey, Mēgan.
Hi, Graham. Thank you for being here, everyone.
Great to have you. We're also going to connect with Jennifer Liu. Am I saying that right? Do I pronounce the O at the end, or is it just?
Yeah, you can say Liu.
Okay, Liu, and she is Director for Recruitment and Business Development for the MBA, MIM, and ISS programs at INSEAD. And also, I just had mentioned Jennifer is in Singapore, so she deserves sort of some extra props for staying up late with us today. But thanks for joining us, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you so much, Graham, and looking forward to the session.
Excellent. We're also going to hear today from David Simpson, who's the Admissions Director for the MBA and Masters in Finance programs, as well as the accelerated one-year MBA that LBS has at London Business School. So welcome, David.
Thanks, Graham. Hi, everybody. Great to be here. Looking forward to it.
And last but not least, we also have Mēgan Lewis, who's a Senior Associate Director for MBA Admissions at the Foster School of Business at University of Washington in Seattle. Mēgan, thanks so much for making time and starting your day with us. I know it's earlier there than it is where I'm located in France. So welcome.
I'm ready.
All right, everybody's ready. What we're going to do is we have, just in terms of format for today, we have some sort of roundtable questions, like general questions about essays that I want to ask each of our panelists to weigh in on. And then we're going to move into school-specific stuff. So I actually have, each school is going to go through the essay questions that they offer and spotlight one of the questions that they ask in particular. I also have some follow-up questions that I brought with me to ask them about their questions. And then we have some fun kind of lightning round stuff. And I also want to mention that each school rep here today is going to break off into a little Zoom breakout at the end of the main segment. And what they'll do there is take your questions. So because of that, we don't really do Q&A during the main portion of the session. So hang on to your questions. If you have any, you can get them answered by chatting individually with our panelists today in the Zoom breakouts that will open up at the end. But let's dive in. The first question we have, and we'll just go alphabetically by school. So we'll start with Nicole. Nicole, why do you have essays in the MBA application? What is it that you're hoping to learn? And also, if you would, comment on what your team thinks about AI and the use of AI as candidates are completing their applications.
Sure. Thank you, Graham. Yeah, I was excited to do the essay theme for this event because it is my favorite part of reading applications. I tell applicants this is truly where you have the most control over your application. You can't go back and change your GPA. We only have so much control over how we perform on an exam. So this is really your chance to control your story, tell your story in the most authentic and genuine way possible. This is where the admissions committee is really going to get to know you as a human being outside of work, outside of how you performed academically. It's an opportunity for us to learn what you're passionate about, why you want to get an MBA, why you want to come to our particular institution to achieve your MBA. These are all important questions to think about as you are preparing to write your essays. We're basically just hoping to get a little window into who you are, what you care about, what kind of drives you. And every school is going to be looking for slightly different things, which I know we're going to jump into further on this session. So I won't get too in the weeds there. But again, we're just looking to get a small glimpse into who you are as a person. And this is your chance to really to take that opportunity in the application. In terms of AI, I know it's on top of everyone's mind. every team is going to have different policies. So again, do your research as you narrow down your list of schools. For us at Columbia, we don't have any hard and fast rules against using AI. But what I will say is it is quite obvious when you're not writing your own essay. So please do yourself a favor, write your own essay, make sure it's your voice. Again, this is your place to let your voice come through in the application, and don't do yourself a disservice by having a machine write it for you. I think there are great use cases to use these tools as an assistant and to help you write the essays. And if you are, if you feel comfortable using those tools, there's nothing in our policies against you doing so. However, don't let it write the essay for you. Make sure we're getting to know you so that we can, make some valuable admissions decisions through our process.
Okay. Yeah, that's excellent. And I think we've been, this is the third session that we've done on essays with schools over the course of this month of July. And we're hearing a lot of that kind of, hey, use it as a helper, not necessarily to write things, because it just becomes very generic when you use it to write stuff. I want to turn to Mēgan at Georgia Tech Scheller. What's your take? Why do you guys have essays, and any policy on ChatGPT or other AI tools?
Yeah, thank you. And Nicole did such an amazing job of an overview. I think a lot of us are going to have very similar answers. It's also my favorite part of the application. And I always say that if we didn't have essays, my job would be pretty boring, just looking at transcripts and resumes all day. So it really is that time to showcase, as Nicole was saying, your voice. Personally, my degree is in English and English education. So when I say it's my favorite, I really do look forward to opening up an application and hearing in your voice, as she mentioned, more about you than what we can glean from these more quantitative aspects of the application. So very similar. I won't spend too much time on that, but I am excited to share about our essays and some more information and advice there. And then as far as AI, we are centralized through Georgia Tech for all of our graduate education applications. And Georgia Tech does have a policy that AI should be used specifically to brainstorm or edit and not for your official submission. So they mention not to copy and paste from ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever your AI use is. And it's very explicitly spelled out on the website, but I do like that they mention from an accessibility standpoint that it's a good partner if you don't have, a friend or family member or coworker who can look over your essays. So having them help revise as well is also acceptable as long as the writing is originally yours. So that's Georgia Tech's policy.
Okay, great. Appreciate you shedding light on that. And the reason we asked this is because there has been quite a variety of, policies and things that schools have. So really glad that you could shed light on that. Let's turn to Jennifer at INSEAD. Yeah, why do you have essays, and what do you hope to learn from them? And is there a policy on AI?
Yeah, I think I just add on Nicole and what Mēgan shared as well. Beyond that, I think everyone should also remember, I think, what's the purpose of the MBA, right? So I think MBA is a very unique business degree that is unlike other specialized degree. So it's not to train the specialized experts in different industry, but it's really to develop the future business leader. So that means you do need to look at the holistic profile, and also is the evidence that the school or the admissions committee trying to looking for the evidence to show the leadership potential, your motivation, and also what do you want to do in the future. So I think essay gives you the best channel for the different types of candidate to showcase their different motivation and personality. But on the other hand, I think for the applicants themselves is also a very good refreshing journey. They can actually leverage the essay to do, because I'm sure when everyone's writing the essay, it's also helping ourselves to understand why do we want to make such a big decision in the mid stage of our career. So I think everyone should enjoy this journey instead of sometimes probably some applicants will get scared of like writing so many essays during the application process. And in terms of AI, I really think in the future, everyone will use AI. So I don't think like anyone should against, I think, using the AI, but I would say AI is just like a tool that like other types of tool that probably applicants will use at a different stage, right? So I know some applicants may also seek for help, and then from different types of admissions consultants sometimes, and then you use AI to help to polish your essay. I think most important is that everyone need to always remember the story has to be yours. So most important is the essay has to be authentic, and the tools is just help you to probably strengthen your essay and your profile. So I think how to use it smartly is very important.
All right, terrific. Yeah, thanks for weighing in. And I will say one of the things that I love about MBA admissions that I think sometimes applicants don't necessarily know because they're only looking at business school is that other academic disciplines, law school, et cetera, often have much less bandwidth for you to kind of share about your background. There's usually just like a single statement. And business schools have this great opportunity for you to, often write more than one essay or do a video, or there's all these nice components that give you a chance to shine so that you're more than, I think it was Mēgan was saying earlier, you're more than just like a set of numbers on a page that would make the job really boring. You actually are a real person with, experiences that you get to share. Let's turn to David. David, what's your take on this stuff? I mean, why do you all ask the essays for essay responses? And is there an LBS policy on AI?
Yeah, so essays are still really important to us. A few years ago, we cut the numbers right down. I think it was a general trend in business schools to do that. We've grown a little more, so we've added one back in. We'll come to that later on. Ours is very practical. Again, we'll talk about that later. But for us, it brings together the details about a candidate. It brings a profile to life. Also, I think it gives it shows us a sense of someone's structuring of ideas and thoughts that isn't required in just a pure delivery of facts that comes with a resume or some of the short form answers. So they, for me, they have a really valuable place, but just like everything, it's the holistic view that really counts. In terms of AI, yeah, it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, is it? So we actually set the same policies we do for our students. We think that's a good way to frame it. And that's if you use it, tell us that you've used it and how you've used it. We expect people to be using it to help them. So for me, AI is just a new version of a helpful friend, really, or it could be an admissions consultant. People have sought advice from everybody along the way. There are risks of using it. You can lose the authentic tone in your voice, or if you're using it in a way that might pick up facts, there's a chance of it having hallucinations. There's a chance of it because AI just takes information from whoever's added information about your school or whatever it is. So if there's bad info coming in, you'll get bad info out. So be careful how you use it. If you're using it to help finesse an essay, just in terms of structure and grammar and things like that, I think you're fine. So we'd just like to know how you've used it. But with everything, with AI, look before you leap. If you're going to use it, think about, did this work out for me? Don't automatically just assume it's a positive thing and your application is better because of it. I think one thing I'd add is we're really thinking this summer about how we will advise applicants in the use of AI during the interview stage, especially with the virtual interviews. I think that's different, and I'm just working through some thoughts in terms of whether we restrict it completely. We're starting to see candidates, in a virtual interviews, their eyes moving, those kind of things, and we've got to think, is that the same as essays or is it different? How do we want to work with it? So we'll get through that idea in the next few weeks and bring it in. But for essays, I think it's a case of use it wisely.
Yeah. Okay. Super helpful. Mēgan, you've been patient with the whole alphabetical thing. Washington's at the end. Can you take us through your thoughts on these two questions?
Sure. I agree with a lot of what other schools have said as well around the importance of the essay or essays. We have 4 essays in our main essay. You have 750 words. So that right there would probably tell you it's pretty important to us, this piece of the application. In terms of why it's important, one thing that you might consider is that as an admissions professional, I'm probably going to look at your application and make some assumptions about you, and not because I shouldn't be making assumptions, but because I don't have the time to sit down and get to know you as a person in all of your complexity, right? So we do the best that we can in trying to put the parts and pieces together, and the essay is really your best shot at getting us to not make assumptions about your goals or your story or your career history thus far. That's where you get to explain it all to us. One thing I'll mention about AI, our policy is that you can use it. Just let us know that you've used it and how you used it. And in terms of our feelings about using it and cautions, I agree with most of what's been said here. And one thing I'll just throw out as a tip, what I haven't heard much regarding is asking AI for feedback. And I found that helpful for me when I'm writing sometimes to say, how does this essay make you feel? Or what's the point of this essay? Or, what would the original question have been? And see if you can get that kind of feedback from your ChatGPT or whatever AI you might be using. That could be an interesting exercise.
Yeah, I love that idea. Give it the essay without the question and ask it to tell you what the question is, because one of the number one pet peeves that admissions officers share with me is when the candidate hasn't answered the question, or they read the essay and they don't feel like the candidate's answered the question. So that could be a great use. Good idea. All right, we're going to move into the next segment of today's webinar. And this is where we get up close and personal with each school's essay questions. So we're going to go to the top of the alphabet, and we've got Nicole at Columbia. Nicole, the way that this works is that we have a couple of slides covering your essay questions. And so what I want you to do is pick one of your essay questions, and if you need us to advance to the slide that has it, let us know, and take us through, like, why did your school ask this question? What are you hoping to learn? And any advice that you might have for someone who's setting out to complete that question. And then I'll have some follow-up questions for you as we kind of get into the discussion. So feel free to direct us. I know we have your short answers here, and then I think we have a couple slides with the longer essays as well.
Sure. I can just really briefly talk about the short answer questions, and then I think spend the majority of our time talking about the essays if you have those on the next slide. But for the short answer questions, this is just a chance for us in really short format, 50 characters max, it's one sentence, for you to tell us what are your immediate post-MBA professional goals. So I want to go into consulting, I want to start a business, like really short, because you'll have a chance to expand on that in the first essay, which we can chat about. And then short answer question 2 is just giving us a little bit of insight of how you see yourself spending the summer semester in between the 2 years for our August entering students. And I know it's not on the slide, but there is still time to apply to our January entry program. That short answer question is slightly different. It's just asking why you prefer the J term, and happy to chat with anyone offline who has questions about January entry. But if we could go to the essay side, perfect. So Graham, I know you're going to ask me about essays 1 and 3, so I'll focus on essay 2 to kick us off.
Okay.
And share a little bit about why we ask this question and what we're looking to gain. So, every school has their own set of values. One of our biggest values is around inclusive leadership. We are committed to building inclusive leaders and putting them back out into the world. But we want to get a sense of how you've started to demonstrate this in your life so far before coming to business school. So there's no right or wrong way to answer this. We're just looking for you to share an example of a time that you were on a team or in a group, and you just helped build a stronger sense of community, helped make it more collaborative, stepped up in a way that made the group better in some way. This could be from, your academic experiences. This could be from work. This could be from an extracurricular activity. We don't have a preference. Whatever you feel best answers this question and demonstrates how you've, demonstrated these skills. I just lost my train of thought, of course. I think I said everything I wanted to say about this essay too. I'll come back to it if I remember it, but go ahead, Graham.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I want to ask you, as you correctly pointed out, I had some thoughts about 1 and 3. So let's start with essay 1. Something unique about this question, which ordinarily you would say, oh, this is a career goals kind of essay, and we see lots of these, but you have this line where you talk about your long-term dream job. And we never see that word dream in other schools' applications. And so I wondered like how much leeway do I have as an applicant? Because, my short-term goal might be consulting, long-term goal might be becoming a partner, but I might have this dream idea that eventually I'm going to run for office or do something completely different, or maybe related, but very, very senior. Like I'm going to be CEO or, some real dream kind of role. Like, so is that what you want people to talk about there? Or is it, like how much leeway do they have?
Yes, great question. And I get this question a lot. So to kind of back up a little bit, we want to see that short-term goal as something that is ambitious, absolutely, but we also want to understand, is this short-term goal achievable right after an MBA degree based on the resources that we offer, based on the experiences that this person has to date? Does this person have a realistic sense of what their career goal after an MBA degree looks like? That being said, that long-term dream job, we use the word dream intentionally. It should be ambitious. It should be pie in the sky. If it was a perfect world, like what do you see yourself doing in the long term in 10 or 15 years? It could be unrelated to that short-term goal. It could be very related. If you can connect the dots for us, I think it all goes back to like, what are you passionate about? What drives you? And if you feel like that long-term goal is not exactly aligned with the short-term goal, that's okay. But make sure you can connect the dots for us. How is that short-term goal going to get you to that long-term goal? And why do you care about these things? Why are you passionate about it? I'll just share briefly. I met an alumni who graduated in like 2015. I think the essay question was quite similar back in 2013 when he applied. I wasn't on the team. But he said he sits in his pool every summer and rereads his essay, his career goals essay from his admissions application. And his goals have changed many, many times, but he remains passionate and driven by the same thing. So think about that when you're crafting this essay.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate you commenting on that. It's great to know. Essay 3, you talk about co-creating your optimal MBA experience. And I kind of wondered, like, what's meant by that? And if you mean that candidates should be explaining like how they're going to be involved and what they're hoping to do on campus, et cetera, is it better to sort of talk about like, oh, I'm going to do these 5 things, or to maybe do a deep dive into like one area that they're really hoping to get involved in, leading a club or some, conference or whatever it is. So yeah, any advice on that one?
Sure. Again, no right or wrong answer here. What I think we're getting at in this essay is, what I love about the MBA program is that no two students day to day looks the same. There's so much to take advantage of, so many avenues you can go down, and that's what's going to make your MBA experience interesting and dynamic, is meeting people who are involved in all different things. But this essay is asking you to focus on, how do you see yourself showing up on campus? How do you see yourself spending your day? So it could be, like Graham mentioned, focusing on one really specific thing that you want to lead or bring to campus or introduce. It could be a couple of things. My one piece of advice is, don't just list off 20 things from the website. Do some research, figure out what you actually care about. This is another chance for us to get to know you. There are so many things to take advantage of, like I said, and what you choose to speak about is going to help us understand where your interests lie, even outside of the academic and career side of things. There's so many social organizations. At any of these schools, you're really joining a community at the end of the day, with people from all over the world, with all different interests and backgrounds. So we just want to get a sense of how you see yourself showing up in that community, and spending your time.
Okay, yeah, terrific. Thanks for shedding light on that. Before we turn to Mēgan and talk about Georgia Tech's questions, I just wanted to mention, I see we're getting some questions in the chat. We'll do questions in the breakout. So at the end of this main session, each of our panelists has been kind enough to agree to stick around and take your questions in breakout rooms. So you can definitely connect with folks there. Let's move on though and give Mēgan a chance to talk a little bit about Georgia Tech Scheller's essay questions. So Mēgan, the same assignment here. We've got a slide with your key questions on it. Pick one of your essays and yeah, just tell us a little bit about why the committee chose to ask it and what you're looking for.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I love that you guys have this up on the screen so that the candidates can see, the layers of what we're wanting to learn from an applicant. But the reason that I want to focus on essay 3, the 10 facts essay, is because this is the one that I get the most questions about as an admissions officer and advisor. So first and foremost, I want to mention that I believe it was Jennifer who said this is a time of self-reflection and applying to an MBA program. And I could not agree with that more. So I want to share from both an admissions perspective and a candidate perspective that, you know, all of the schools on this call, all of the schools that I go to fairs with are all incredible places to be, sometimes for different reasons. And so part of what we are trying to evaluate as an institution is this the right fit for you? And are we the right fit for you, right? Are you the right fit for us? And are we the right fit for you? And that can sound a little nebulous to candidates, so I apologize, but that's really another reason why some of these essays are so important. And for Scheller, we are an intentionally small community. We've got around 80 students who start in the full-time cohort every year. So of our peers, we're one of the smallest programs. And because of that, the community piece is huge, right? I always tell people, if you're looking for a way to kind of put things into buckets, you may be considering schools based on what they can help you with from a community perspective, what the curriculum looks like and what interests you about the curriculum, and then also the career. So when you're exploring, keep those things in mind. And then when we're evaluating, that's what we're trying to see as well. So again, from the community, we are smaller. And so we were noticing that we weren't getting enough information about people as a human being. And for a program that's very tight-knit, very collaborative, you know, our motto is, if one of us wins, we all win. And we truly believe that. We weren't getting to see enough of someone, their interests, their hobbies, the things that they enjoy outside of work in the application, because candidates were hesitant to share that information. They didn't think it was relevant to, you know, their MBA journey or what have you. And so this 10 facts essay has been so incredible. It really helps us get a snapshot of who you are. And I think people get nervous about it because they still want to put their best foot forward, of course. We'll often get essays where people or lists, where they're then telling us, you know, I've been investing since the age of 3, and they make all of their facts around business. And that can be interesting still, but it's not necessarily the intent of the question, right? We really do want to get to know you outside of everything else that you've shared in the application. So some of my favorite fun facts are just around hobbies. We hear about people's families, their dogs. I would say share as much as you know, as is appropriate. Don't overshare with the committee, but what do you like to do in your free time? Are you a traveler? Are you a reader? Are you a weightlifter? You know, do you volunteer? Some of this can be in your resume, but it just gives us a little more context for that. The pitfalls that I see are when people submit just lists of adjectives. So they'll just say motivated, dedicated, collaborative. And obviously those are descriptors of who they are, but it doesn't, again, give us any more information. So just keep in mind that is the intent. There's the evaluative piece of this essay is for the admission committee to see essentially that you're a normal human being with interests, which we all are. So just make sure that you're highlighting that and don't think too deeply about it. But yeah, hopefully I didn't ramble too much on that one, but that's the intent. And I will say that we share some of these fun facts at our events, like our admitted student welcome weekend. We'll have one fun fact from every attendee kind of scrolling on a PowerPoint. We use these in orientation when we're introducing the class. And so we really do value this piece of the application and use it as part of our, you know, criteria in looking at an applicant.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for shedding light on that. I do think it is, it seems like a great opportunity, right? Because it's sort of an open-ended opportunity to share, as you say, like a lot of maybe non-business things, hobbies, interests, just fun facts about you. So it seems like a great opportunity. I want to ask you about the first essay, or it's sort of a combination question about essays 1 and 2. in the sense that, in the first question, you're asking why an MBA and why Georgia Tech. And it would seem that that might invite some discussion of like what the candidate's hoping to do. Like why, why do you want an MBA? Well, I want to be a consultant, or I want to do this or that. But then in the second essay, you're asking specifically for their short-term goals post MBA. So I'm wondering, like, any advice on how do I balance that? Because I feel like I would need to touch on my plans a little bit in the first essay, but is it more kind of stick to the long-term big picture stuff in the first essay, and then in the second essay delve into like kind of a very specific short-term plan?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one good way to frame it. And to your point, Graham, applicants should think strategically about these two essays in conjunction before they write them. What am I going to include here and what am I going to include here? Because we don't want to see a whole lot of overlap. We often see people break it down with big picture and then, kind of narrowing in on the short term, which I think is really effective. Another suggestion would be the first essay tends to lend itself more to that self-reflection and self-awareness. While I love an MBA and it's an amazing degree and opportunity for exploration for a lot of people, that doesn't mean the MBA is the best choice for every single person, right? So we want to see that you have thought about the degree and you have also thought about why Scheller in this format, right? So why Scheller without saying it and not another school? What is it that interests you? What are you hoping to learn from this degree, this program is the intent of question one. And while that might include some of the short-term goals, we're really looking more for that intrinsic motivation and the self-reflection in the first essay.
All right, excellent. Yeah, thanks for helping us kind of work through that. Let's now move on and talk to Jennifer at INSEAD. You guys have made some changes too this year on your essay questions. I think I noticed that, but pick one. We have a couple of slides, right? Because you have several questions. So take us through one of your questions and why you're asking it, and then I'll have some follow-ups for you too.
Yeah, sure. I think let's start from the job description essay. So we used to say, okay, job description, this part is not essay, because if someone read our previous application form before, probably will notice this part, it used to be a few short questions. It's just 100 words or 200 words. But this year we change a little bit. If you just look at the words limit in total, it's still actually the same amount of words that allow applicants to share all the stories with us. But from the job description, if you look at the questions one, we just combine the first three short questions together to really try to understand how did you plan your own career in the past, and also what are you currently doing, and also your job and responsibility, and what's the rationale behind that every time when you probably make a career change or when you jump to another company, and also what is the impact or probably the notable result you have achieved in the current job. So these questions, some candidates will probably wonder, what's the difference between this question and also some points and then show on the CV or resume? Actually, it could be have some overlap because you have to mention, okay, what's your current job's responsibility and also what your probably your achievements and of the current job. But this question allows you to connect the dots and also help us to understand like how did you make your every time you make a decision and then in terms of your career progression. So and also after this question, it will naturally lead to another question, the question two, to tell us, okay, what after like what how did you plan your career in the past and what you're doing right now, and also what do you see yourself in the future. So the question two, we want to understand what's your short-term career goal and also what is your long-term career goal, and how INSEAD MBA actually play a role in this journey. So I would say actually short-term career goal is very important because this is right after your MBA, your next step. But in the meantime, when it comes to the long-term career goal, it will be helpful to clarify a little bit more if there's sometimes and then it is not so obvious how to connect your short-term career goal and long-term career goal. So any clarification here will be helpful. So I think that is the what I want to share, and then for the essay, the job description, essay 1 and 2.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it is, you're making a really good point about how, you get a resume or a data form where the person lists the jobs, but this brings color and a story to that, so that you can understand the sort of why behind the different moves that someone's made. Um, we do have slides with your other essay questions, and I want to ask you about at least one of them. In fact, so let's start. So this second essay that you have, it's this one that says describe a highly stressful situation you faced and how you managed it, et cetera. So I want to ask, so this seems like a great opportunity for an applicant to show poise under pressure, right?
Yes.
But but I wondered, like, in some cases there's pressure and stress and a situation doesn't go well. And so I wondered, like, would it be okay to share a situation where it was stressful and things didn't go very well, but you learned something? Or would you suggest people need to stick to a time when they, really thrived in a challenging situation?
That's a very good question, Graham. Thanks for bringing that up. I think going back to the principle of essays, right? So I think everyone talk about the essay is really the chance and then to help you to make a missions committee to understand who you are as a person. So I think every example or every story you share in the essay should be actually really significantly influence you as a person or shape you to become who you are today. So I won't say which example candidate should choose because it's really depends on the person's personal growth. I would say here why we ask this question because it's from two perspectives. One is actually we hear more and more from the employers. So how they actually evaluate the MBA graduates, and then when they do the job interview, and then when they probably hire for their own company. So I think this is an important part. It's not just about the capability, how you can complete the task, but also under current circumstances, like everything changed so fast and then everything evolves so fast. How the candidate or MBA graduate can handle the stressful situation in different business line, and especially when you become more and more senior in different industry, it's no longer just about the capability of completing the task, but also how you handle the stress and then at the different level. So this is actually important to also show the potential leadership and then in the future. On the other hand, I think it's also important, which relates to INSEAD, the program structure. So as you must know, INSEAD is a 10-month program, and we also have the 1-year format. But compared to 2 years MBA program, it's definitely shorter. So I think everyone should also be ready, and then that when you come to INSEAD, you are actually joining a 1-year MBA program instead of 2 years. So I think have some type of expectation and preparation about like how you can handle different type of stressful situation will be actually helpful to help better prepare for your the INSEAD journey in the next 1 year. And when it comes to like, should you share something really like you handle very well, and then the example or some example probably didn't go very well. But I think most important is the learning experience, right? So what you want to share with us is that after all this stressful situation, what type of quality or also what type of learning experience you actually get out of there. I think that is the most important thing that we want to see. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for providing a little more detail on that. And I recognize, yeah, excellent point about your program structured differently. And so people need to know that going in. Let's turn now to David. David, same assignment here. We have a slide. I think yours all fit on one. Yeah, we got all of your essays on one slide. Pick one and yeah, take us through why you're asking.
Sure. Okay. So I am taking a look at the first one in terms of. Oh, sorry, just gotta move this thing. It's very pragmatic. It's very straightforward. We're asking what you hope to do afterwards and how will your prior experience, a plus on the business school, get you there. So what we're trying to do here is get a sense of what your particular aims are, And we talk about post-MBA goals. I guess that kind of alludes to immediately post-MBA, but actually you can expand upon that and put your long-term goal as well. I think the best candidates do put that in there. It's bringing together a sort of the idea of a sense of realism. It's bringing together, whether your knowledge of current market conditions are up to scratch, and really just, I think the main thing is it's providing a talking point. It's fuel for the interview. That's what I think of when I think of essays. I think it helps us to make a decision of who gets an interview, and then it provides talking points for a really good conversation. That's why we've kept it in on that first one.
And your interviews, then your interviews are what we would call non-blind interviews. So your interviews are, you've read the essays, or whoever's going to interview the candidate will kind of know what the candidate wants to do and have that discussion with them.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
it's not just non-blind. We actively encourage the alumni interviews, because all our interviews are alumni led, or most of them, if not me, that they should study and build on the facts they've already read. So for me, it's, it just adds more value on top of what we already know. Some of it is about checking in and checking sort of authenticity of answers to see whether a candidate might have embellished things a bit too much. I think it's important because this is an application. You put your best foot forward, so you need to cut underneath it just to get all the key facts and go from there.
Okay. So I want to ask you about the second question, because this question was new last year. So now we're entering this is going to be the second admission cycle where you ask this question. And I wondered, so 200 words is not a lot. And I wondered, why did you add this question last year? And like, what's your advice to someone who's just setting out to kind of put pen to paper on this, or I guess fingers to keyboard, but anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, the first essay we've had for a long time, and so I sit here in these wonderful events with you, thinking, oh, there's some great essays in different places around the world, different schools. Should I change ours? But these work for us. But honestly, I think it was doing this event that inspired us to think, no, let's add something different as well, shake it up a little bit. The question about unique, we were trying to think, what couldn't just be created by AI? I mean, I guess it can be. Nothing is pure of that. But mainly, it's to see whether people, get the fact that we're all unique. If you look at what does the word unique mean, it's being the only one of a particular type. And you are that by default. If you put together a set of facts about someone, that makes you unique. No one's not unique. Um, what we're hoping people do is tell us something a bit more interesting that doesn't fit somewhere. Or it might be about what they've done. It might be about what they hope to achieve. Usually, it's the extra facts. I would say, just try not to try too hard to be quirky. It's make it fairly natural. We're not looking for you to think, oh no, I'm just this job from this country. There must be loads of people like me. How am I unique? It's just tell us something extra that fits. So for me, it's been we're definitely keeping it in because I really like it. It's not been quite as wild as I thought it might be. I thought it might give loads of over the top answers of people. I was like, oh, we don't need that. People have been really quite measured, I think. So that's worked quite well. Maybe everybody was listening into this event last year and took the advice I said about just use it sensibly to tell us something different.
Yeah, I forgot that you actually announced the introduction of this question last year at this time in this webinar. Now
I
I'm
did.
remembering that. Yeah. So, well, it sounds like it worked, and you're keeping it in. So, hopefully that advice. I do think if as an admissions reader, it must be kind of interesting to see this sort of extra fact. Similar to what Megan was saying, you guys have your 10 facts at Georgia Tech, or there are these kind of extra little things that maybe don't fit somewhere else in an application. So it's a great chance for a candidate to stretch out. Mēgan, you've been patient as we were going through your peers here. Let's turn to you, though, and we have some slides with the Foster essays. I think we even have 2 slides in this case. So pick one of your essays. We'll go wherever you need us to go, and you can talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'll talk about essay 2 because that's a new essay for us this year. We thought we'd switch it up. have some fun. And this does seem appropriate because this is our mission statement. So we want to know how you all are reacting to it. Ironically, for years, I have been advising prospective MBA students to find the mission statements of various universities to see what values are important to them and to keep that in mind as they're writing their essays. And now we're doing it more overtly. We're pointing it out. And we really like our mission statement, and we feel very strongly about it. And I think we do a pretty good job of, living up to it. Of course, they're all aspirational, but it really does drive a lot of what we do. And students who are on campus will hear this over and over again from the dean, and see it around the building. So it is I think a pretty important factor in defining who we are. And that's why it makes sense for us to ask prospective students how they feel about this mission statement, or what parts of it might resonate with them. Sometimes I get questions about this essay. People think they need to answer all three parts of this, being a leader, fostering insights, also fostering progress, also bettering humanity. I would say you don't have to do that. It actually says explicitly there that you can choose to talk about being a leader, or providing insights, or fostering progress. I think to better humanity is really the key. We're trying to get at how can you think about the work that you do in your daily life in such a way that you're bringing your values into it and you're making the world a better place. Because similar to what some of the other schools have said in this panel, we do really care about promoting leadership that is inclusive, and leadership that is responsible, leadership that understands environmental impact. So how are you going to, be a business leader that's making a positive impact on the world once you leave Foster? That's really the point here.
Okay, yeah, that is a new one, and I'm glad that you focused on it. I want to ask you about a kind of classic question that you've had in the application for as long as I've known, which is this post-MBA plans essay. And the reason I want to ask about it is, and you mentioned this earlier, it's long compared to a lot of your peers, 750 words. And also it has this kind of added element, which is sort of this notion that you need to point out many the sort of gaps or deficiencies that you currently have, and how you're hoping to address those via the MBA. And so I just wondered, like, yeah, what any advice as someone sets out to write this as to, I mean, I think most people could look at their performance reviews or ask peers for feedback or something to figure out where they have deficiencies, or they may know what they want to learn. But what about that part about figuring out how Foster is going to fix that, or, any advice on that?
Sure. This question is designed to get at if you've really done your homework on Foster. And so what you really want to do is talk to admissions professionals, talk with students and alumni, and try to get a sense of what kind of options are available for you here, because you can look at the curriculum online and see the courses, and that will be helpful. But I think it's really hard to get a sense sometimes of exactly what a lot of our experiential learning opportunities, there's so many of them, and even students in the program are not aware of the full breadth of experiential learning opportunities that are here. And so you're really going to get the best information by speaking with students who are pursuing similar goals, because they've probably navigated the program pretty well during the first year to find out what those learning experiences look like, and how to best take advantage of the program, and what kinds of opportunities are available to students here at Foster. So don't be shy about reaching out. We have an ambassador program like most schools. You can find folks on LinkedIn. You can look at industry clubs, and we have student profiles on the industry club pages. You can reach out to those folks, and then you start to get a sense of what opportunities are here. And we can tell if you've done your homework. Sometimes I always use this example because it's a really good, clear example. Sometimes people say, I want to work in aerospace, and Boeing was born in the Seattle area. Well, Boeing sends folks to the evening MBA program they sponsor, but they don't hire our MBA students. But you wouldn't know that unless you've spoken with some of the staff and students here. So that's just one example of little details where we can start to get a sense of if you've really dug into our program.
Okay, excellent. Mēgan, I want to stay with you, and we're going to do the lightning round questions. We'll go backwards through the alphabet. so that you don't have to wait so long this
All
time
right.
through.
No problem at
So
all.
yeah, so we have these, the last segment that we're going to do with these lightning round questions, and then we'll do breakouts. All of our panelists are going to hang around and jump into breakouts so you can ask them your questions. So Mēgan, simple question. What's one thing you love about working in MBA admissions at your program?
Oh, I love learning about different careers I never even knew existed.
Excellent. All right, David, how about you? Something you really love about MBA admissions?
I think it's just being part of someone's transformational journey and seeing them at the start and then watching people go through and see how they change, see how they've grown. So it's an amazing thing to do if you can, remember all the stories coming through. So I love that and continue to love that, and that hasn't changed for so many years.
Jennifer, how about you?
I think I'm very similar to David. I think it's really make me feel the job is so meaningful when you can witness the people and then transform actually make a huge change in their life before and after. So sometimes I'm really, really happy for the alumni, and then I know from the beginning of their journey.
Yeah, excellent. And I recognize this gets harder as we go through. So, Mēgan and Nicole, it's harder for you guys to answer. But Mēgan, any thoughts on this? What do you love about working in MBA admissions?
I'll also say just being part of our Scheller community. And I loved it so much that shortly after I started working for Scheller, I began pursuing the evening MBA program here. So the community is a really important piece.
Okay, excellent. Nicole?
Yes, agree with a lot of what my colleagues have said. I think it's just being able to show up to work surrounded by really driven, ambitious, and smart people every day who have really important goals keeps me coming in.
And you have those amazing new buildings that you get to go to now.
Yeah,
Because you opened up the new campus. All right, let's stay with you, Nicole, for our next lightning round question. We've been talking about essays kind of nonstop today, right? So give me one piece of non-essay advice for someone who's interested in getting into Columbia.
Sure. I think not even just for Columbia, but a big piece of advice I share outside of the essays is as you all narrow down your list of schools that you're looking to apply to, I recognize it's time and money, but if you can visit the campuses you're thinking of applying to, I think it's really, really important to get a sense of what they feel like, how you see yourself there. There really is a right fit for everyone, and you're about to spend a lot of time and money in one of these places. So if you could spend a little bit of it to make sure you're making an informed decision, I think it does really go a long way. Don't do it for the admissions committee and to check a box. Do it for yourself.
That's great advice. And given what it costs, like you're saying, to go to business school, the idea of visiting the campuses is sort of a drop in the bucket. So you
Right.
really should get to campus. I think you can learn a lot by
And if
talking to
you're
people.
overseas or not able to do that, a lot of our schools travel and offer virtual events. So those are great opportunities as well to get to know the school.
Yeah, great point. Mēgan, we'll go to you. What's one piece of non-essay advice that you have?
Yeah, I would say to have a list of your negotiables and your non-negotiables and take some time to really think about what are the things that I'm immovable on and that I need from a program, and what are some things I could be open to learning from others about. And then in addition to visiting, speak to a current student or an alum. I think that's an absolute non-negotiable, as Mēgan was mentioning, of learning even more about the school beyond the website.
Okay, terrific. Jennifer, how about you? One piece of non-essay advice.
Yeah, I agree actually what Nicole and Mēgan say, but on top of that, I think we hear more and more candidates are really not sure about what they should do next year. So should they always have multiple options. I think most important, I think just think about if you don't do an MBA next year, what are you going to do? So I think sometimes it's just a choice. And once you make the choice, then just follow your heart and don't regret.
Okay, excellent. David, how about you? Piece of non-essay advice.
Everything everybody said's been great. So what would I add? So I'd say be conscious of your communications with the school. So you've got the application, then you've got your interview, but think of all the things like emails in between. We're a team, we're a close team, we work closely together. So be thoughtful about everybody you communicate during your admissions journey. Be thoughtful about people's time, and make sure you're asking relevant, interesting questions, and be you all the way through the application process. Be authentic, because when you get to interview, it all comes out and it becomes very much the real you. So we don't want any surprises. that when we talk to you is different from what we've read. But yeah, be very conscious in all your communications.
Okay, yeah, that's great advice. I think sometimes candidates don't necessarily connect the dots that, they're meeting someone on the road at an event, they talk to them for a while, then they go to an info session, then they have an interview, and all those three, individuals that they've interacted with at the school talk to each other and are often sat at a desk near each other in the office. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Mēgan, how about you? One piece of non-essay advice.
Yeah, a lot of schools will offer meetings with admissions counselors one-on-one to give you a little bit of, thoughts about your profile and whether you're ready to apply to an MBA program. So if that's available at the schools you're interested in, I would say definitely take advantage of that. I think it will be very valuable. And don't wait until you're invited to interview, or the interview if it's not an invite situation. Don't wait to prepare. Prepare for that early on.
Yeah, that's terrific advice. And I would add one thing, which is that I think before you have, if the school does offer that and you sign up for it, do a little bit of prep work so that you know a little bit about the school and you know what your kind of rough career plan is. I don't think Mēgan or anyone else is expecting you to be as polished as a finished application that's coming in. But if you come in with zero kind of prep, that could maybe not look so great. So keep that in mind too. Mēgan, let's stay with you for our last question, and we're just moments away from opening up our breakout rooms so that folks can get their questions answered. This is in honor of LBS's question. Mēgan, what makes you unique?
Oh, I am a big fan of naturopathic and Chinese medicine.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. David, you asked the question of all your applicants, so I'm asking it of you.
Revenge attack, I like it. One thing that's on the professional side is that I guess I'm fairly unique in the fact I've stayed with an organization for over 25 years. Who does that? Our OB professors talk about preparing you for multiple careers over many years. And so that's not me. Other than that, on the personal side, I guess it's my sort of musical taste and obsession that I think makes me unique. And being 6'5", that's pretty unique, I guess.
I wonder, I always feel so short stood next to you. All right.
It's me, not you.
Yeah, it's you. All right. Jennifer, what makes you unique?
I make it short and I just take advantage of the panelists today. I think I'm unique today and that I'm the only Asian based in Asia and joining this panel.
All right, excellent. Mēgan, how about you?
Yeah, before I joined higher education, I taught at the high school where I graduated from and became kind of the boss and department lead for people who taught me. So that was a really interesting experience.
Oh, wow, that's really interesting. All right, Nicole, how about you? What makes you unique?
Yeah, I was stressed about this question the whole time. So glad we're here. I think people probably don't know this about me on the surface, but during undergrad, I had two majors, and one of them was dance. And sometimes I use that in two truths and a lie, and people think it's my lie because it has nothing to do with what I do today, but I actually think it shaped me in a lot of ways. So that I think makes me unique.
Excellent. All right, well, I appreciate everyone making time to talk about all of this. I learned a ton about your, application essays and even a lot of just good general advice for the application process. What we're going to do now is I'm going to thank our panelists. So, thank you so much, Jennifer, Nicole, Mēgan, Mēgan, and David. We're going to invite you to step backstage while we set up the breakout rooms. And everyone else stay with me for a minute. We're just going to let our panelists go backstage and get set up. And they're anxiously awaiting your questions and everything. So what we'll do now, and yeah, so you just need to, we will post the breakouts. You'll see them in a moment, but I do want to mention that if you are using Zoom, like just in a web browser, you may not be able to do breakouts. So make sure that using the app on your phone or the app on your desktop or laptop. While we're waiting for our panelists to get situated in their rooms, I wanted to remind everyone to use the resources at clearadmit.com. We have this tool called ApplyWire where you can share anonymously the schools you're considering, a little bit about your background, any notes you want to add, and then you can get feedback from our community. It's a great way to just get some free sort of initial advice and thoughts on your journey to business school. ClearAdmit also has a weekly podcast that airs every Monday that I encourage you to tune into. And most recently, we built our own LLM to fuel an AI bot that's on our website. You can ask it questions. It's really amazing in the sense that it's based on all the content Clearedmit has published over the years. So unlike ChatGPT, which fishes around the internet and will get like 20 opinions that differ on the same question, our advice that you get in the bot and information is accurate, and it has a point of view, which we think is the right point of view because we've been doing this for 20 years now. So definitely check out our resources. It's a great community. I encourage everyone to register if you're not already registered, to just join the Clearedmit community. It's free. Everything's free on the website, so there's no reason really not to. And you'll find that it's a great community to journey through the admissions process with, whether you're tuning in every week to the podcast or hanging out on the website, leaving comments and things. But without further ado, I think we're probably ready to open up the breakouts and let you all chat with the admissions directors who joined us today. We're going to share those links now. And I just want to thank everyone. We have one more event next week. Next week, we're going to sit down with MIT, Chicago Booth, UVA Darden, McCombs at UT Austin, and Carnegie Mellon University. So those are the 5 schools that'll be with us same time next week. So come along to that if you can. Otherwise, we're going to set you free now to go and chat with our admissions directors who joined us today. So thanks so much, everyone, and I hope to see you all next week.